Welcome to the Awakened Goddess Show, your source for inspiration, wisdom, and personal discovery. The place to learn from a diverse mix of mentors, metaphysical experts, spiritual leaders, and best-selling authors from around the world. I'm your host, Angela Wilkinson. Join me as I explore the minds of my masterful guests while they share powerful insights and easy-to-use tools you can start using right away. Now, let's tap into the energy of the Awakened Goddess and be enlightened by today's guest. Karolyn McKinley is a licensed psychotherapist, integrative healing practitioner, and experienced guide through the realms of spirit and psyche. She creates uniquely transformational experiences for her clients, which she calls a life alchemy, to assist you in connecting to your deepest truth and inner knowing, allowing you to lead a divinely inspired, joyful, and abundant life. Using a wealth of powerful methods and tools to help you access and change up your reality, she knows without a doubt that the stronger the imagination, the less imaginary the results. An avid seeker of the magical and miraculous, she is dedicated to the re-enchantment of everyday life. Now let's welcome Karolyn to the show. Hi, I'm Angela Wilkinson, and welcome to this episode of the Awakened Goddess Show, where we co-create powerful, conscious conversations on the leading edge. Today I have a dear friend of mine joining me, and she's actually returning on the show, and this is Karolyn. Last time, she's actually been on the show a couple times. The very first time was before I did the TV show, and it was just a podcast. But this time, we get her in full color.
Yeah.
And it's going to be so magical. I just know it. So welcome, Karolyn.
Hello, Angela. It's so great to be on the show again.
Well, just so the people that are watching and listening, the audience knows, Karolyn and I have been pretty much playing together in Karolyn's mastermind almost every day, pretty much every day of the week. And so I'm really excited to share what we've been co-creating, because you're actually the only program, your Abundance Alchemy program, I should say, is the only program that I've really stepped into in several years. And that says a lot, because there's so much that I have the opportunity to do. And I'm really, really mindful with my time and my energy and where I put it. And for me to take every single day and spend it with you, that says so much.
And I am so, so grateful for you and for all the other alchemists. It actually blew me away to know that that is possible, because you're right. Our time is limited these days. There's so much coming at us and things that we have to accomplish and do. And so the fact that you guys showed up every single day, Monday through Friday, for 3.5 months of intensive work. We'd meet on Zoom an hour a day, or often longer, right?
Mm-hmm.
And even if you couldn't make it, a lot of you guys would watch the replays. And so it was a deep, deep dive into everything that is in the way of co-creating the reality that you would prefer to experience. And that was my frustration with a lot of programs too, is a lot of them were really information-based, or maybe some mindset work or emphasis on clearing or whatever. And I always felt that there was some missing pieces, because I would do those programs and very little would change. Things would revert back. Okay. And so I was really curious about that, like, what's up with that? And so I've done Abundance Alchemy, different iterations of it. This is the 4th time. So you've been in several of the other versions, and each one I'm refining and going deeper. And so it's been really fun to, again, co-create with you guys. And so this time, before the next one, was so funny that after the last one, you're all like, we want to keep going. Like, okay, I don't know what's coming through, but let's do it, because there is power in maintaining a level of momentum in your desire to create a new reality for yourself. And that's where a lot of people slip off the rails, is that they don't have either the support or a a daily practice to extract them from the programming that they have picked up along the way. Just being human, we're programmed from 0 to age 7 to perceive reality in a specific way that is in alignment with the folks around us. And it's important to pick that up in a sense because your survival needs depend on it, but it's not always useful, right? And so we had to unpack a lot of that. Like the last round of Abundance Alchemy, we really did a deep dive into all the information stored in the subconscious and how that is locked into our body at the cellular level. We looked at ancestral programming, which now science is proving that this information carries over from generation to generation, again, because it has survival value, right? Mm-hmm. So there's a famous study that came out of Emory University with mice, that they exposed a generation of mice to the smell of cherry blossoms, and then they would shock them. Poor little mice,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't get me started on animal testing.
Okay, I know. But what they wanted to see is if that fear that got created, that aversion response, would translate across generations. And in fact, it did. So their progeny, 2-3 generations out, the minute they smelled cherry blossoms, had that same reaction in their brain. Mm-hmm. And so if mice experience that, can you imagine what that's like for humans? And so why is this important? It's because right now we're in a political climate, or like it's worldwide. It's not just in our nation, but it's kind of cray-cray here, right? Of a lot of people in fear, a lot of people in lack, a lot of people in their limitation stories. But it goes back generation after generation and generation of victimization, objectification, abuse. And so when you have that running in your system, you're just going to keep creating that in again, not in a very conscious way, but just in a pre-programmed way. And what's cool about being alive now is I see that this consciousness is being dismantled. Mm-hmm. It's going to be a little rough as that happens. And
because again, the reptilian brain and a good proportion of the population is totally highly activated and fighting to maintain or regain control, and it's like that fight or flight.
Exactly. Fight or flight is the rule of the day right now, and when you're in fight or flight, you can only think about yourself and your own needs.
Yeah.
Okay. So the collective consciousness is looking for receptive people to seed and grow new ideas, new creations, new ways of expressing in this world, because our survival actually depends on it. And what's cool is I see all these really young kids coming in with these amazing inventions and things like that haven't been programmed in that same way. So what I like to teach everybody is that every possibility exists in the universal hologram.
Yes, this is like one of my most favorite things to talk about. That all potential, all possibilities are available to us.
Yes.
Yes. It's so magical just thinking about that.
Yeah, and we're not taught that or how to access that. And what's really interesting about a lot of programs and things around creating abundance, they're still tied to a worldview or a perception, a filter that things take time to manifest. So already they're tied to a linear-based left brain sort of model, which keeps everything sort of outside of ourselves that we have to attract. And then we somehow have to pull that in, magnetize that somehow. And
the hustle, too.
Oh, yeah.
Hard work, hustle, right?
Right, right. And so when you're aligned with that sort of left brain linear way of approaching the world, then you're constantly actually looking to the past to predict the future. And if in the past we weren't successful, how is that going to work for us, right?
Yeah.
So then that's when we get that FOMO. We look around for all these programs that if we just follow these steps, if we just do what this guru does, then we can have what they have, right? And that's great if you are totally in alignment with that person. You really know yourself really well to choose carefully. But most of us don't, because again, we respond to the fear-based messages that they're putting out. Do you feel X, Y, Z, all the pain, hitting all the pain points? And then you're, yes, please, just tell me what to do. And so, and that, again, I'm not bashing those programs. There's a lot of good pieces to that. Mm-hmm. But what we were doing in Abundance Alchemy was really diving deep in discovering what our own soul's blueprint looks like, right. How we're unique as an individual and, at essence level, versus trying to prop up this social self or this personality-based version of who we think we should be in order to get all the goodies. Mm-hmm. So what people tend to do is, I like to make little, me and my little diagram.
Yes.
It just helps. Okay. Versus just talk. So most people think about creating change based on a reality, like I said, the left brain sort of perspective of things, which assumes that there's a past and a so-called future, that we live in space and time. But even Einstein said, that's all relative, depending upon what dimension you're talking about. Well, we're in the third dimension. Okay? So we do have time and space, or that's the appearance of time and space and third dimensional reality, but everything's outside of us. And so we have to get something. We have to, like you said, hustle. We have to work really hard. And then somewhere down the road in the future, we'll get the goodies.
Well, it's also the cause and effect.
Exactly.
The belief that we have to do something to receive something.
Yeah, now I want to talk about that. We do have to do something.
Right, yes.
But often what we do is, again, coming from a fear-based lack, limitation, scarcity mindset, okay? So in this past round of Abundance Alchemy, what dropped in is there's 4 elements to successful manifesting, or what I like to call actualization. Because manifesting just means manipulating something. Actualization is we're bringing something in from the imaginal realm, from the realm of ideas, and we're bringing it into our physical reality that's tangible, and we can, experience that. Because in truth, we're just, we're in a body here, and the body is what has needs, right? Mm-hmm. We as spirit is like, money, We don't need money as spirit. We don't need a house. We don't need all this stuff. So what we'd like to do first, though, is we got to create some clarity about what it is that you want to experience. And by the way, from the essence level, every experience is valid. From personality level, ego level, there are some things that are better than other things to experience, correct? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and again, that's where that fear comes in. And when that takes hold, then that sets off a whole different chain of reactions and behaviors that kind of tend to self-reinforce the lack, the thing that's missing. So in the model that I use, where we are at one with everything and everyone, everywhere, and everyone, we're connected to that through the holographic field. Then we just have to create resonance to it so that it can pop into our reality. But first we have to get clear. Mm-hmm. So what does that mean? So what is your vision for your life? Do you have one? Or are you just doing what everybody else says you should be doing? What is your zone of genius? Do you know what that is? What are you passionate about? What lights you up? Where are you playing small? Where are you needing to brave up? Mm-hmm. Okay, those are also part of clarity as well. So,
Yeah, what's that one thing that you have been avoiding that you know that you need to do, but you've just been like, oh, I'm not quite ready yet?
right. And that keeps you in a nice little safe bubble. And that's all it is. It's all about safety and security. And again, we just don't have freaking time for that anymore in this world.
Well, and you know what I find is that, through your process and your program and having a container of people that are always seeing your highest vision of yourself. They're like holding that, right? And that keeps you moving forward. And what I realized is that this so-called scary thing, like for me, my big challenge was asking and receiving help because
Yes.
I had all of these stories of what that meant and what I had to do in exchange, and it was very loaded for me. But being able to step into that and take little steps and feel what it felt like, and oh my God, the world did not come crashing down. I did not get burned at the stake for asking for help. It allowed me to like take bigger and bigger steps, and now, as you know, I'm stepping into much bigger things.
Oh, I have loved watching you
Yeah.
step into bigger things and just massively creating the world that you want to live in. I'm so excited that you're going to go to the UK. That's something that you created a vision for, and even a
Yes.
process now called the Envision process,
Mm-hmm.
right?
The
So,
envision experience,
well,
yeah.
experience, okay. And
Yeah.
so what happened was we were meeting one night and we just started talking about what it would be like to live in our ideal world. And that's another piece to this, guys. You want to start with that vision first, what you want to create, and then we deconstruct that or reverse engineer that. So you start with the end first. And so your envision experience is starting with the end first and really creating the resonance and the total alignment as if it's already here, because it is in the hologram. So you connect up with that, and then the magic of that is watching yourself talk about what you've already done. And it makes it
Yes.
so real to the body. When I first experienced that, it just blew me away.
I know. And I loved it. I had to like, you were kicking and screaming your way into it. I had to like, slip in the back door.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, the first one for me was, the relationship piece.
yeah.
And so envisioning being in a relationship and what that would feel like. And then it was once I watched the Envision movie that you created from that experience, it then what was so cool is stuff started to line up in my external reality that reinforced that, which was crazy. So in the Envision movie, I was talking about how we just come back from Africa and all the cool stuff that we're doing over there, nonprofit work and all of this. And then I think a week later, I went to an event where I reconnected with a childhood friend from high school I hadn't seen for forever. So happens she lives in Africa and she does nonprofit work. I'm like, what? Okay. How random. And she's never in country. She just happened to be in country that week, and it was wild. So
Yeah.
that's like the magic and the synchronicity that gets activated when you're very clear about what you want to create. And again, you're creating the resonance and then watching the world show up to reflect the truth of that, because it is real to you.
Yeah,
Right?
and well, they say that when you watch something or when you visualize it and play it and practice it in your head, in your mind, it's your body responds as if it's actually doing it. And so I think that's the magic about it, is that you're rewiring your brain to step into this new reality. And because you're creating these the new neural net, the mapping, it's
Yeah.
like that's how things line up. Because no longer are we focusing on, all the struggle and this isn't working and there's no money in my bank account. We're focusing on, I am living this other reality.
Yes. So I love that. You're correct. You're remapping the brain and the neural net. We want to prune those old connections that keep just cycling, and creating our reality. Because the brain is a part of us that perceives our environment and has the filters to only see what we want to see or believe is possible. Okay.
Right.
But that's not the all of us. We're so much bigger. That's just like the tip of the iceberg. Us as a multidimensional being is so much more. We want to get to that and connect with that too. Okay, but yes, it's an important piece to remap the brain and the subconscious and remove the beliefs and the blocks and all of that to the reality that you want to create. So the clarity piece is super, super, super important. That's where we start. Okay, what do we want? What do we desire? And we might do some other things involved, and we had fun doing the decluttering process. So we removed from our space anything that wasn't in energetic alignment with us anymore, starting with our clothes and then books and on and on. So I love that. Closing loops that are open that have a lot of our energy tied up in them. So those are projects and relationships and anything that is sort of running in the background that's not an energetic match. So you want to close loops. We also we created our essence blueprint. You want to show yours?
Yes. Show and tell. I like colors, and so underneath this, I don't know what you call it, but it's the circle.
The Abundance Alchemy Actualizer, yeah, my essential self. Yes.
And so then all of these, we did several different really cool processes where we identified different, like the 7 Sacred Soul Qualities with Janie Santoy. She was on the show a couple weeks ago. And then we did some other ones where you did archetypes. And so all of these are on here. And so all of those are parts of who I really am at the soul level, right? The essential self.
Yeah. So when you really fully know this essence, who you are beyond all of the social programming and all of that, what you got growing up, it's really easy to say yes or no to things. It's really easy to know what's going to be supportive, again, in terms of relationships, jobs, or, what you're going to put your energy and attention on. And from essence, when you're expressing from essence and creating the connections in the world to the people, places, things that you need, it's a whole different ballgame. It just feels so fun to be alive. It's like, oh yeah, okay, so this is what I came here to do. And so first things first, again, you create this representation so you can see it, touch it, taste it, feel it, because we don't want it just to, I'm a very visual person, so I like pictures of all of these things. But for most people, that just really helps them make concrete what it is, who they are, and what they're doing here. Mm-hmm. So,
well, let me ask you this, because this is something I found. I had a really big realization around this when I created the Envision experience, was that people really limit themselves in terms of what they allow themselves to dream. Like they really, I say, what are your dreams? What are your goals? The big dreams. And then they say, oh, I'd like to pay off my debt, or I'd like to, get married. But it's like they don't really stretch and go, because, in we both agree on this perspective of that we can truly have anything and everything that we want. And if we're asking for this much, then we're not going to get the big stuff, right?
Yeah. And let me tell you, I'm really glad that you said that, because especially for women, is that when we go for what we want, ask for what we want, often what gets triggered is guilt. Mm-hmm. We shouldn't want that. We should be all serving and, that's selfish, blah, 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 blah. And then you get all pissed off because you see the people that have no issue with receiving, getting everything they want, right? But the guilt, it's a good sign in the sense that it's showing you where you're afraid to be disappointed.
Yes.
And the shame of that. Like, I asked for that toy as a child, and mom or dad said, don't be so selfish, or we don't have the money for that. And then you just do that, shame, and then you feel guilty.
Mm-hmm.
And you tell yourself you shouldn't ask for more because it causes pain or suffering for another being that you love. And so that happens over and over and over again, and then you just kind of stop asking, right?
Yeah.
So we really have to handle the guilt and the shame and the self-worth issues in order to successfully manifest anything. And that's a big block. And I heard something today too, it was really good, is when you doubt your own self-worth, then, or when you stop doubting your self-worth, you'll stop offering discounts. That was from Lewis Howes, School of Greatness. Like, oh, wow, okay. Because it's all about self-worth. But self-worth is like inherently you're lovable, inherently you're enough and worthy. Source, God, creator, whatever you want to call it, didn't make beings lesser or greater than another.
Mm-hmm.
Humans did that. We came and we created those stories and, again, objectified people and dehumanized people because we're coming from fear. And again, you're seeing this play out on the world stage because the stakes are really great to keep that old way of thinking in place. And that old guard is putting up a fight because they're used to owning power or having the power. And the power that they have is over information and truth. Like what gets put out, what is produced. And now everybody is so connected and we have access to all this information. We can create whatever we want. We are more in tune with our intuition than ever before. And they're freaking out, right? So they're instilling fear in the collective because, again, that works to control people.
Yes.
Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So we have to do whatever we can to get out of that fight or flight, period, and stop. So I think it's important to be informed, but please, please, please do make a point of taking some time away from the news feed because it's all being created to keep you in a, oh my God, the sky is falling and here's, you better be afraid, very afraid.
Mm-hmm.
So
definitely
take that information and then, take inspired action to do something about that. So all that stress and anxiety. But we're birthing this new reality, and it's very exciting. If you want to see this as sort of the death throes of that old paradigm of consciousness, then you're not going to be afraid.
Mm-hmm.
All right? So this is why we have to become master manifestors or masters of our own destiny more than ever before. It's all about actually changing the inside so that the outside external reality shifts in alignment with that, in resonance with that. No longer are we looking to the outside and trying to change that, fix that before we can feel okay or feel enough or whatever. Okay. So it's all an inside job.
Well, just really quick, what comes to mind to me is that the way I kind of look at the external world is I try to remind myself it's simply a smoke screen. So I practice looking beyond the obvious, like what's right in our face.
Right.
And I look at, what's on the other side, because I believe that everything, there's purpose in everything. And that everything that happens moves us closer to who it is that we are truly to become, our best selves. And as long as we focus on what that resolution is or what that lesson or benefit is, then all this other stuff simply becomes more of like a play.
Yes, it is all just an experience.
Yeah.
Again, from Esther's point of view, we came down here to have an experience, and some experiences are gnarlier than the others.
Yeah.
All
Yeah,
right.
not that they're all pleasant, but
No, they're not all pleasant. And so we really have to get over that in terms of because again, a lot of abundance programs are really focusing on just getting stuff, as if getting more stuff or more money or more ease or whatever is going to solve everything. And that's sort of an endless game, I think, versus, and I'm not saying don't do that. I do that. It's like, hey, I think having more money gives me more choices
Mhm.
to be generous, to experience this beautiful world that we happen to be on, all kinds of things. Money's not the issue. It's more of a, where is that, what's driving you?
Mhm.
So,
Well, it's kind of like an evolution that happens in the process of learning how to actualize, using your word, actualize from the 5D into 3D versus just the simple manipulation or the materialization or the manifestation where you're focusing on the stuff versus focusing on the evolution process that you go through. That's
exactly.
kind of, yeah. Yeah, yours is so much more rich and deep, and it's like a lifestyle, not just another thing to do.
Yeah, just another mindset.
Yeah.
Tool, or something like that. Or, and again, there's the law of attraction stuff. Again, a lot of it is talking about how we need to do something out here in order to have an experience. But from the spherical holographic model, which let's give a shout out to our gal, Penny Pierce. Love her.
Penny, yes.
Get all of her books.
Also a past guest on the show. Yes.
Right. Coming out with another one. So excited. So she really helped me understand that from the spherical holographic frame, everything exists now in this that will ever exist, and all we have to do is create this resonance to it. And so it's like imagining that. Well, pictures. Let's have more pictures. So I showed you this one where this is the typical way we approach things, as this, she calls it the donut, the past and the future. And we have to take all these steps in order to get what we want. And we look outside of ourselves for that fulfillment. But in a spherical holographic reality, everything exists now.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that we want is already in existence in reality. Okay, this is really interesting too to me because I was pretty hardcore Buddhist practitioner, and tantric practitioner, and the concept of emptiness fits very beautifully with this, which is everything exists in totality. It has to. I mean, doesn't that make sense? Right? So how do you connect with those experiences that you would enjoy? You have to create the resonance to that, which is a frequency or a vibration. So consciousness plus energy is frequency. So everybody talks about raising your vibes and all that, and it's true. You have to change your frequency. So when you think about, and that could be thoughts and beliefs and feelings, all of that piece. And everything is just energy. Matter is just really slow, frozen, condensed energy. And so we have this appearance of everything is solid and real, but in truth, it's not. It's just like there's the quantum field, and we're popping in and out of that pure potential. I think it's a septillion times
Wow.
second. I know,
That's
crazy. I know, you can't get your head around. That's 21 zeros. All right. So what's cool though is anytime you cross over that gap into the quantum field, you have an opportunity to come back different with something else, some other possibility. Okay. So that's what we play with in abundance alchemy is how do you go to the gap and come back, and so that's the connection piece. So I have there's four pieces to the actualization process: clarity, connection, then creation, then receiving the contribution of all of that. So this is the
Okay.
connection piece. Mhm.
Yeah, so let's take a quick break and then we'll dive into the connection piece.
All right.
Are you an Awakened Goddess Show insider? Each and every month, our members receive lots of fantastic perks, including behind-the-scenes conversations from the show, outrageously fun virtual happy hours, bonus meditations, powerful activations, and healing energy work with the guests, exclusive gifts and private readings, on-demand access to the show, plus an invite to join our private community. Visit our website today at theawakenedgoddess.com for more information. Now back to the show. All right, so let's get into this connection piece because, yeah, this is really juicy. So tell us about this.
Okay, so, well, Angela, when I say connection, like, how do you connect to source? What comes to mind for you? What are some of the ways that you connect?
Being out in nature.
Yeah.
Being in water, feeling water, ritual, ceremony, intention,
yes.
Focus.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. All amazing things. And we have to do it. This is a non-negotiable, folks. So yeah, you have some clarity about what you want, but if you don't actually sit down to connect and create that resonance, nothing's going to happen.
Right.
It'll just be a nice thought, or feeling or whatever. So,
well, and that's kind of what, for me personally, where the disconnect is with say, like a vision board. Like I would find all these beautiful pictures, but there was this disconnect because those weren't me. I couldn't like feel the connection of, oh yeah, I see this beautiful house, but that's just a picture.
Right. If you have all those subconscious programs still in there saying, well, no, who are you to want that house? And how are you going to get that? And blah, blah, blah. It's not going to work. And so, or there's like different levels of manifestation that we're taught. So the first level might be you do the affirmations. And so you're kind of reprogramming your thoughts, which is great, but you have to do a gazillion of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Until you believe it. And then there's the vision board, which brings in the visual element. It makes it more real because it's very symbolic. So it packs a lot of information into these little pictures. But what I learned about vision boards is, in truth, the ones that work are the ones where you're actually pulling in pictures or images of the things that you've already created.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Sure.
So it's in this spherical holographic universe that already exists. And now I'm just looking through these magazines and I'm picking pictures because I'm remembering myself experiencing this in a so-called picture, which is cool, right? It's awesome. Okay, so
there's my car.
Right, exactly. Yes. Yeah. And when you feel that connection to it, as if it's already done, that it's waiting for you in escrow, as I think Abraham Hicks calls it.
Mm-hmm.
So you're tuning into the frequency, and is it a match to your home frequency? So this is again why we spent so much time on getting that essence blueprint, because once we know what essence is and what that frequency, what it feels like to be at home here, it's really easy to choose. Does this match? Yes, no.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you're spending some time during the day. I like to do it in the morning before the world wakes up, and just sit in bed and connect with, I just do all these processes and tools to get myself connected to my essence. And then I also set an intention of what I would like to experience that day. And I do that in different ways too. But the key part is once you set, you clarify what you would like to actualize, you put your attention on it. Okay? So you stay focused on that. At the same time, simultaneously, and this is the tricky part for a lot of people, is you let go of the results of how it's going to show up. It's just that it is. Okay. I don't need to know that part. And actually, the more that I worry about that, the more I'm creating an interference to it happening. You're creating resistance. And needing to know how it's going to show up. So I've had things just like instantaneously, like the next breath show up once I set the intention. I didn't have any strong attachment to it. It just felt like, yeah, already done. And then boop, it shows up. So cool. And that's what synchronicity is like these things have a relationship. That's what synchronicity really means. There's a parent relationship to these two things happening. So you're creating the connection. You're also, if you need to, this is where clearing and all of that, those sorts of things might be really useful. Doing your DNA ancestral repatterning. I also like to notice what morphic fields I'm attached to. So for most of us right now, there's Republicans, there's Democrats, there's independents, or, you're attached to a morphic field. And if you're attached to a morphic field, you're also attached to all the beliefs and information that field embodies. So be mindful of where you're plugged in and disconnect. And it's as simple as setting the intention. And one of the holographic tools I use from my mentor is just like, imagine a USB cord. Like I have this thing that I want to create, right? This is what I want to actualize. And then on the holographic vision board, we put that up there. And then we notice, oh, here's all the morphic fields that we're attached to that are going to prevent that from happening. All right? Okay, morphic field of the collective, the morphic field of your family of origin, the morphic field of your, I don't know, just the people that you hang out with is a morphic field. The city you live in has a morphic field. Everybody has, we're all in this nested series of morphic fields. So we unplug, 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 unplug. And what's really important is that we really, 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 and I cannot stress this enough, please, 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 unplug from the chaos of this world, from the chaotic field, and choose what you would rather experience. And this is not spiritual bypassing. This is actually when you do that, because again, remember, we're all part of the collective universal field. So you are amming stuff out constantly with your thoughts and your feelings. So if you're just reading the news feed and getting all worked up and afraid and scared and paralyzed, you're just adding more to that field. So if you use that fear as a call to action, that's different. Okay. So we unplug, use the envision process on a daily basis would just catapult you to actually creating from that space, because it's again already done, so you can just relax.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Feel gratitude, which is again very powerful energy in which to actualize anything. State of gratitude. So there's that piece, and now you can move into creation. And that's what people do, is they try to create before they're clear or they've not created alignment or resonance to what it is that they want to have in their life. And so it falls flat. And then they reinforce, oh, I suck, I'm a loser, and here's why, all the old programming. And then they go out and buy another program and another program and another program, another program. It's like, it's nutty. Yeah. So, but when you take the time to clarify and then connect up, create the resonance, then boom, all of a sudden something drops in, you get the download, you get the inspired action, you take action, and then boom, everything just shows up. It's easy. It's a little harder in practice until you get practice that. But yeah, but it's so much easier when you approach creation with those two other things in place first. And then, and you also engage the forces of synchronicity in a much larger way when you do that. And then you move into the contribution or the receiving piece. And
okay, let's pause right there. Leave a cliffhanger here. And we'll take a quick break, and then when we come back, we'll dive into that. Okay. Have you created vision boards? listened to meditations, and read books on how the law of attraction works, yet you're still not where you want to be? The key to manifesting is focusing your attention on your big dreams consistently, fully embodying the feeling as if it's already happening. And that's why I created the Envision Experience, a revolutionary and simple 28-day process for powerful, quantum-level dream manifesting. So if this sounds interesting to you, I'd love for you to join us. You can find out more at theawakenedgoddess.com/envision-experience. Now back to the show. Okay, so let's dive into contribution. This is the last step of the creation process.
Yes, I love this. And simultaneously, it's the hardest piece for people, especially spiritual entrepreneurs, which is so funny because I forget the guy's name, but I was listening to this guy talk about manifesting, and he talked about all these different levels of consciousness as we're going along our path. And the first, we start out as like caveman, who just, our whole focus is to get bananas. We got to get a lot of bananas so we feel safe and secure. And then at some stage, it's like, wow, that's a lot of hard work. Now, how can we work smarter, And so we identify with the mind, and then how can we hire more cavemen to bring us more bananas? And even that doesn't satisfy. We pile up all the stuff, and it's like, it's still not enough. And then we decide, well, there must be something more bigger, better than just getting bananas on this planet. And so we start to explore the spiritual path, become religious. And then we have to follow all these rules in these books. And then if we do follow all the rules, then we'll experience our riches in some other place off planet, heaven, if you want to call it,
The magical lands.
The magical land. And so, so that's frustrating. And then people decide that they want to be spiritual, not religious.
Mm-hmm.
But they're still coming from that lack, limitation, scarcity model. Okay, so now we're going to follow the law of attraction. We're going to do all these things so we can get more bananas. Except, I don't know about you, but a lot of spiritual people are really broke and don't have a lot of bananas. And so it's like the spiritual booby prize, right?
Right.
Like, oh, I'm a light worker. I'm doing all this good work. And what?
Well, and I have to laugh when they say, how much value you put out there is what you'll be receiving. Like when you hear the business gurus and they say, if you're not receiving money, then you're not providing enough value. Well, with spiritual entrepreneurs, that is certainly not the case. I mean, they're giving more and more and more value, right? But they're still not receiving the reward.
They're terrible receivers. That's the problem in truth. Well, there's another piece too, which is what we were talking about earlier, is we're trying to attract or make something happen outside of us and all of that. We really want to just get connected, create that resonance to what we desire, but take the guilt off of it.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know that the word receive is the most misspelled word in the English language?
Is it?
Because we don't use it very often. Right? Yeah.
Well, I tell you, that's been a big lesson for me. Right. I was like, energetically, I was pushing things away. Like I would say, this is what I want, but then on the other hand, I was pushing things away because it was really uncomfortable to be in that place of receiving.
Yeah. Why? What were some of the things that came up for you? What did you discover or learn about that piece? Like if I were to receive, then what?
I felt extremely vulnerable. And like I said earlier, it felt like there was a lot attached to it.
Like what? What were some of the things that were attached to that you discovered?
That it was a soul level cost. Like I would have to give too much at a soul level.
Right. Yeah. So we'll block our receiving. So we'll do all this other cool stuff. And then when it comes to actually receiving from our questions, we'll stop it. Because either, again, we have some subconscious beliefs that we haven't really cleared out of there. But mostly who am I to have to receive this contribution? I'm really a good giver, but good givers typically attract great takers
Yes.
because that keeps it all in balance, right?
Right.
So, in order to receive the contribution of what you are creating, you have to, again, just take all the layers of judgment off of that and understand that this is just an experience like any other. It doesn't make you greater or lesser or anything like that. You cannot limit the abundance of the universe. That's insane because the universe contains everything. That's a very ego-based personality perspective, again, that you're seeing played out on the world stage, that there's only so much, right? That's
Yeah.
not essence uh, way of being. It's a personality way of being. Only so much. So, and we can come up with creative ways of creating more. We can come up with creative ways of saving this planet. We can do all kinds of things. And again, the children shall lead us. They're coming up with all sorts of inventions, clean up the ocean and water and all this kind of stuff. We are infinitely creative, infinitely limitlessly creative. So, so we have to be willing to receive those creations because, again, the more we're willing to receive, the more we have to give. So let's have some gratitude. So that's the energy of having, by the by. You can't be grateful for something that you don't have already.
Right.
So that's, again, connecting to that it's already here. And what I like to do is have people guide them through an experience where they, like your Envision experience, where they're connected to, they've already experienced this thing. It's in their past. And so they can relax in that energy of relaxation and ease. It's just like, yeah, okay, I can have this. It's already done. So that's the key point for, again, for a lot of spiritual entrepreneurs. And when they get that, that's okay to receive. Everything just comes to them as if by magic. It really does. It's really cool to see. They just create that resonance. And like what you're doing, you're going to the UK, you manifested a really cool way to do it. And talk about really challenging yourself to be open to receiving with the auction.
Yes.
And
yes, and trust.
I mean, what did you discover in opening up to that?
Oh my goodness. Well, so first I received the opportunity to stay with a listener in the UK. And then I was like, oh, well, that's great, but I have no idea how to get there. And then I had another listener that when I told her that, she said, well, I would like to donate this necklace to, and then have the proceeds go towards your trip. And I was like, what? And then that got me thinking, well, if there's one person, then maybe there are other people that would like to participate and help, because the show does help a lot of people. And so then it took me some perspective shifting around getting outside of just myself. This isn't about me. When people participate, that gives them something as well.
Absolutely. So, don't you feel so good when you're able to offer something to somebody else? I mean, you're really, that's another thing I want people to remember is that in your refusal of a gift, of something somebody wants to give you, share with you, you're not allowing them the joy of. And so I want people to feel that in that receiving, that it's actually a gift to the giver as well. It's a thing, right?
Yeah. Well, and it's also interesting how, and I know I'm not the only one, that we have these ideas of how things have to look before we can receive or before we can take action. And I think that really gets us stuck. are these ideas of it has to look a certain way.
Yeah, again, that's the old programming. So
Yeah.
we do the other process, the getting clear and making the connection and taking inspired action. It's so much easier to receive. So, but when you don't have those other pieces, then you're still running from a lot of the old programming and not even realizing, because a lot of it's subconscious.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a memory. It's not the truth of who you are. It's just what you experienced in the past. And your left brain, analytical, linear brain is always looking to the past to predict the future and to feel safe and secure. So it'll just keep recreating this sort of small, easily controlled world. And like you said earlier, you're not expanding out to ask for more. You're just choosing what you already know over and over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
Or another way that people trip themselves up is they try to do these manifestations that are going to be guaranteed creating interference at the subconscious level, and so
Like, what would be an example of that?
well, people saying, I want to make $100,000, 6 figures. That's really common in the entrepreneurial world.
Oh yeah, I've done that.
Right? And and then all of a sudden, guess what happens? Your life just blows up and shit happens. And I don't know if I can say that, but we go through this resistance to it. But I really want people to know also that when you put a stake in the ground for something that you haven't experienced like that before, you're probably going to go through a period of time where things do have to dematerialize before the new reality materializes, and not to freak out when that happens. So sometimes you have to leave the job or a relationship, or your health gets worse because you have not been treating yourself kindly. And we've got to get you into a place where your body can actually maintain the level of health that is required to, say, run a 6-figure business. Because it's,
Yeah. Well, because it's like you said, you have to have everything aligned with this higher vibration to be able to sustain it.
Yeah.
This new manifestation.
So don't freak out. Like when my water heater blew up, and I'm like, what? I was just asking for more greater health, and my water heater blows up. Well, I find out that it's 15 years old and there's sludge in the bottom of it, nasty stuff that has to go, because I'm bathing in that every day, right? So I never look at any of that stuff as bad. As an alchemist, we're all looking at, where's the gold in this? What can we use to create a new reality?
Beautiful.
And so it gets really fun.
I know. It does. It takes a perspective shift to be able to look at crappy things that happen and say, yeah, where's the gold in this?
Yeah, what's the good news here? Yeah. And you're right. It's much easier to do in a like-minded community like we have. It's really fun. And we don't freak out when stuff happens. There's lots of support, and it's really lovely. I feel so blessed and lucky to be doing this work.
Yes.
And playing with all you amazing beings, and anybody out there who wants to come play with us. There'll be more opportunities for that as well.
Yes, and I can't wait. I can't wait, because the momentum definitely does. I mean, it really has started taking off for me, and it's really exciting to see how quickly and easily things can manifest. So, yes, it's awesome.
Yeah.
So, and for those of you that are Awakened Goddess Show members, Karolyn is going to walk us through an exercise, an experience, and you will find that in the community. So if this sounds interesting to you and you want to activate your abundance flows, then join us, and you will be able to watch the recording. So I want to thank you, Karolyn, for joining me today. This was, like I said, this is one of my most favorite things to talk about. And you're one of my most favorite people. So thank you.
Likewise, my dear. It's so fun to play with you, and what a contribution truly you are making to the world through all of these interviews and just who you are, raising consciousness and helping so many people, just rippling out. And I'm eternally grateful for you.
Thank you. I received that. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Awakened Goddess Show. I hope you enjoyed today's guest and got something you can start using in your life right away. For more spiritual insights and to listen to more episodes, subscribe to The Awakened Goddess Show at theawakenedgoddess.com and discover wisdom that'll change your life.